Hey there. It's Thursday afternoon, the day that I talk marriage. And my name's Leslie Dories. I'm your marriage coach. And today I'm tackling an interesting subject. I guess that maybe there's a question of whether or not people actually think there's a difference between having sex and making love. If you think there's a difference, let me know. If not, I'd also like to know that too. And I'm not talking about whether one is necessarily better than the other, but the issue is that having sex is actually about you, and making love is actually about the two of you. Now, when I say that, that doesn't mean that when you're having sex with your partner that it's not about both of you enjoying yourselves. But it's really the focus generally tends to be on your own physical pleasure. And that's actually really, sex is really physically based. And there's nothing wrong with that. Sex is great. I think, it's a lot of fun. Um, but it's not as deep. We can be ready to have sex at a moment's notice, but making love is about touching each other more than just physically. It's actually about touching each other's souls. And most people actually don't ever do that because it takes time. It takes attention, and it takes being vulnerable. Now, I'm not going to say you're not vulnerable when you're having sex because, quite frankly, at the moment of climax, you lose complete physical control over your body. That's one of the best things about it, and it's also one of the scariest things about it is in that moment, you really can't do anything except feel the pleasure, which, by the way, is fantastic. And when you're having sex with somebody, it's not that you are not interested in them feeling that same pleasure. But a lot of times with sex, it's fast. And I don't necessarily mean it takes 2 minutes. I mean, I'm talking it takes an hour or less. Um, when you're making love with somebody, you're actually connecting in just about as many ways as possible. All of your senses are involved. Um, you're reaching to each other in a much deeper way, and and usually making love is an hours long process. I don't mean you're in the bed for that length of time. I mean you're connecting for that length of time. You're teasing each other, you're talking to each other, you're interacting with each other. A lot of times when people are, a lot of the times when people are making love tend to be the times when you're most relaxed. So I put a lot of vacation sex into this area of where people are actually making love because you're spending the days together, you're doing something new, your senses are heightened, you're more connected with each other. And a good way to know whether or not you're having sex or making love is whether or not you're looking into each other's eyes. And I'm going to tell you, that's a really tough thing to do. Many of us close our eyes because it helps us to feel our bodies more, feel more, concentrate more on what's happening to our individual bodies. Hence, sex is about you. Um, and when you open your eyes, you are giving your partner the opportunity to really see into you, and you see into them. And it can be very um, erotic and very arousing and very exciting because there's you haven't closed the curtain, so to speak. You've let your partner really see and experience you, and you're seeing and experiencing them. That's what I mean by making love being about the two of you. And it's not, I mean, yes, if you're consciously doing that on a regular basis, then it doesn't take as long because you're in that constant state of deeper connection. But if you're just hooking up, or if you're just, it's you've just crawled into bed and you're going to go to sleep in a half an hour. Those aren't, I mean, those are wonderful. And I'm not, please don't misunderstand. I'm not saying that they're not ways to connect with your partner, but they're really more about your own physical enjoyment. And yes, it's mutual physical enjoyment, but it's not the same thing as the deeper connection that you're going to have with each other when you're truly making love. Now, I know that for some of you, you'd be happy to just settle for having sex. I get that. And if that's you, then I encourage you to do something about that. And by that, I don't necessarily mean, have a fight with your partner, but actually take steps to work to make that happen. Um, my philosophy is that nobody gets to opt out of any major aspect of a marriage, and your physical relationship is one of those things. So, and if you're struggling with that, I know that this whole concept of making love is just like, oh my gosh, what the heck is she talking about? I get that. You're just like, I just want to be intimate with my wife or my husband, and I don't care if their eyes are open, closed, whatever. I don't care what they are. We just want to do it. I get that, but that's a step towards getting into the more physical, I'm sorry, the more emotional connection that making love comes in, because obviously you can't just jump into that. And that's what a lot of people think they're doing. And again, I'm not saying that having sex is not great. I think it is. I think it's fantastic. But when we're looking for that deeper connection with somebody, we have to be willing to go into the making love aspect. So I would really love to hear your opinion about this. Please share with me what you think about this. Do you think I'm crazy? Some people do. That's okay. I'm fine with that. Um, and also, how can you bring more love, more of that making love, more of that intentionality of being connected and closer with your partner? And again, it doesn't have to be an either or. In fact, in most relationships, it's a both and that's okay. But like having sex is sort of like having, I don't want to necessarily say fast food, but it's more along the lines of quick food, as opposed to making love, where it's like a 5-course extended meal where you're taking your time and you're enjoying the ambiance and you're enjoying everything about it. Um, and again, we don't always have time to do that, and that's okay, but you want to aim for that. I'm going to challenge you to aim for that in your relationship, because it will take your relationship, it will take your marriage to a whole new level. So let me know what you think, and hopefully you found this interesting and or helpful and not just annoying. So until next week, stay loving.